Angel and Homestead fans. Welcome to this very special live stream event. We are here on set at the Homestead series, and we want to take you along tonight. Tonight we will be having our special guest, Neil McDonald, who's the star of our series, as well as a few other special guests. We will be showing you our trailer and answering a few questions from fans.
Neil McDonald, if you'll recall, was the big star in Band of Brothers. He played the part of Buck, my 9-year-old's favorite character. And Minority Report, he was in Yellowstone most recently.
Saving Private Ryan, yeah. He was in Captain America, he is a star.
Yes, so he's one of our favorites, and we get to have him here on set as Ian Ross, one of the main dudes in the Homestead story. I'm Jayson Ross, co-author of the Black Autumn Fiction series and lead writer on the Homestead TV show.
And I'm Brittany Crane. I'm a homesteader, a business owner, and I'm also part of a new series that we're going to be introducing later called Homestead in Real Life.
Let's check out the trailer tonight, and let's also take a look at what we've got going on set.
Perfect.
Good.
I also want to let you know that you can stay up to date with everything happening in filming and production for the Homestead series. A couple different ways. You can go to all of our different social media channels, and you can also go to angel.com/homestead and click on the subscribe for updates option so you don't miss out on anything. I know we have some viewers watching who are brand new to the Homestead series, so why don't we take a moment and explain exactly what Homestead is?
Well, Homestead is a poke.
It's a poke.
It's going to be a problem. It's a poke. Homestead is a post-apocalyptic series about a community of people who come together around an existing homestead where they're already growing food. A wealthy man has prepared the ultimate place to ride out a collapse. He's hired Jeff Erickson, who's a 28-year Green Beret who's back from military service, and he's going to run security. However, both of these guys have very, very different ideas about how things should be run. And things are happening all around them that threaten their homestead. Food insecurity, physical insecurity, people trying to take their food from them, socialize their food. And they have to deal with this all in the context of absolutely using their old ways in a new time. Ultimately, this is a story of hope. This is a story of family. This is a story of leaning on intuition and going deep with faith, going deep with each other, relationship as the ultimate survival skill. Here to talk with us about Homestead is Sam Sheridan. Come on down, Sam.
All right. Very brief.
You keep it, yeah. How did you get tied up in this whole project?
You know, it's interesting. I was in Hawaii and I was being held down by the waves. And it was close to death. And Jayson dove in and pulled me to the beach, and he warmed my cold breath with his.
I remember a little bit different. I remember it was Hawaii, and I remember cucumber slices on your eyes.
Yeah, maybe that
and I came up and I knew you were the author of Disaster Diaries, and I'm like, Sam Sheridan.
Wrong.
Sam also wrote on Jack Ryan. You're executive producer on Jack Ryan. Wrote on SEAL Team.
Correct. So anyway, no, the truth is, here's the truth. I met Jayson in Hawaii during the pandemic, and I had written a book, The Disaster Diaries, about survival, and we had a lot to talk about, and I loved the idea of this project. And I've since become a TV writer, and I wrote on SEAL Team, and I wrote on Jack Ryan. I created a show called I Am the Night for TNT, and Jayson had not done a lot of TV. So we had a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
And it's been a blast. We've had a great time creating the show, and I love the show because I think the problem I find with so much of post-apocalyptic stuff is there's a lot of action and there's not a lot of interest in the actual true ethical dilemmas that are going to come your way or could happen. And I think what I love about this show is it embraces those ethical dilemmas.
And they're also dilemmas of faith. So for people of faith, sharing, what level, what extent are you willing to go to protect your family? And as a person of faith, that introduces a whole new bunch of questions. So we have this mix of people with faith, people who are kind of coming up close to faith, people who are not people of faith, all in this community called the Homestead, and all trying to negotiate the best means of survival. It kind of subverts all of the tired kill or be killed storyline.
Yeah, you're gonna go off and be a hero with
zombies.
first of all, zombies. you just kill them, right? There's no question they're bad. You can't talk to them. You can't reason with them. So this is not that. This is the opposite of that kind of thing, which I love.
So we're here on set. You've seen some of the. You've been on lots of sets before, and you've seen some of the work of the actors, the story come to life. I mean, what's your impression? How are we doing?
I'm thrilled. I mean, I was definitely nervous being part of this project. I wasn't sure what was going to happen, and it's astounding. It's a real movie. It's beautifully shot right now. The actors are crushing it. The preparation is there, and not to be too technical, but you're not getting rushed for days. You have time. So time is so precious. To get 4 or 5 days. I mean, to do 4 or 5 pages a day. That's real movie pace. Not trying to do 10 pages a day or 15 pages a day. So just that side of it is so heartening to me to see the quality. And yeah, it's going to be great.
How's the set? Oh, pardon.
No, I was going to ask, were you nervous because it's a smaller budget than the other films that you've been used to?
Absolutely, and I just didn't know what to expect. You never know what you're getting into. Some movie sets, you show up and it's hard to tell. Sometimes you see like guys riding horses being chased by guys with motorcycles, and probably you shouldn't be there, right? But sometimes it's hard to tell where you are quality-wise. But sometimes you really can see right away that there's a really high bar, tons of coverage. Everything is being, it's the details. The details will get you, and the details here are being, taken care of.
I agree.
And also, we're like on an actual operating homestead. How is that like?
Well, it makes it all possible. I think the autobiographical side of this for you are this homesteader. You've been doing this for so long, and you've thought about this more than anybody maybe in the whole world in terms of like how this is going to go down right here. And so you've prepared this. You've gone through these scenarios for years and years and years, and that reality, that realness is what's also going to set this show apart. It's not going to be the fantasy, it's not the Hollywood version of what happens in the apocalypse. It's the real version, or as close as we can get.
Everybody's going to connect to it.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't actually go through that whole process alone. In fact, I had a close partner in going through that process. And I want to introduce the world to my co-author, Jeff Kirkham. Jeff Kirkham is a 28-year Green Beret, Special Forces, served our country overseas for most of his adult life. And when he was coming out of service, we met and we began doing some business work together, and we started novel writing together. And that was where the Black Autumn series was born. So thank you so much, Sam.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
Let's introduce Jeff Kirkham. Come on and join us, Jeff, and talk a little bit about what this whole thing is becoming. Jeff? It's so good to see you. Great. So, how do you feel about what you're seeing our work? What did we start in 2014? We started writing.
Yeah, I think we were wargaming before that, and then I think it was you that said, "Hey, this would make a great novel."
Well, you'd been writing. I read a bunch of your work when you were deployed. You'd been writing to kind of decompress.
Yep. So started writing a science fiction novel about a special forces guy in Afghanistan. Big surprise. It started fighting monsters, and it's still rough, and it's never been printed. And I showed it to you, and you're like, "Oh my, we could do this!" And I was like, "Well, let's do it."
What do you mean by wargaming when you say we were wargaming?
So I the way that it started was we were having those conversations, and it was like, how do you think the world could stumble? And I was like, well, I think X, Y, and Z would happen. And so it was like, well, if that happened in the valley here, then what would we do, and how would we meet that? And so we started going through, like in the military, you always go, okay, well, this is the threat. If this is the threat, then you start wargaming what you think that they're going to do. And so we started doing that very same process here in the Utah Valley, and we've discovered a ton of stuff that we would have never have thought of just going through the wargaming process. And then it was probably about that time, it was like, well, this would make a great novel. And it was like, well, let's do it.
Geeking out, basically.
We were geeking out
on this stuff.
I've got to say, just from the trailer that I saw, it was so close to home. Like everything that I watched, I was like, oh, that's exactly what I would have done in that situation. And it stirred up all of these emotions in me. So I think you guys did a fabulous job on making it so relatable and like, oh my gosh, that's really what would happen. So well done.
Thank you. Thank
Thanks.
you.
We actually, that was one of the big things that people kept coming back and saying was, I loved your book. It scared the hell out of me because it could happen. It could actually happen that way.
Oh, yeah.
And we're like, okay, perfect.
Yeah, thousands of reviews on Amazon say that. It's super fun to watch people like, oh, I got to really think about my life. And what I hope, what I hope they're getting to is like, we don't have to wait to an apocalypse or some kind of crash to start living a homestead lifestyle. Like I'm watching your family live a homestead lifestyle, and your children and you know, your goats and your pigs and picking apples, that people don't have to wait. And we kind of learned this during COVID. We don't have to wait for the world to end to start living that interconnected life, like tight relationships, communities.
And I think if you wait, it's too late. But nobody gets the apocalypse that they want, right? Everybody, we don't get to choose the type of scenarios that happen. So how did you come up with everything? How did you write that all in? How did you go to all of the different scenarios? And was there one that took you longer than the others? Like, was one really natural and then one you're like, I need to do some more research on that?
Was there one that took long? Yeah, the whole thing took about 3 years to write. The first Black Autumn was about 3 years.
Yeah, we started like 2014, 2015. It went into 2018. And we landed on, there's not one thing that causes, we landed
it's like
on
a chain reaction, right?
this chain reaction called a black swan event. And so we started with the concept of, it's not just one thing. Like World War I did not start from a predictable event. The Great Depression did not start from a predictable event. It was a chain of unusual events
that tied together in a weird way that, you know, caused the downfall. And you could argue when we started studying history and looking in that and saying, where else has this happened? World War I, the Civil War, the economic collapse of 2008. Not all of those caused the destruction of nations, but what it did was it caused the world to stumble. And then ultimately, sometimes, as we've seen through our research and history, it actually causes the entire thing to collapse. And so we captured that idea and said, okay, how could that happen here in the U.S. and what would we do here in the valley to, you know, protect ourselves?
And it's like a black swan event. Nobody gets, like you said, nobody gets the apocalypse they bargained for. So like the preacher doesn't get the apocalypse they bargained for, the prepper doesn't get, the gunman doesn't get, nobody gets. The whole point of a black swan event, like the Great Depression, is everyone's caught flat-footed. We're all surprised. None of us could have predicted what happened.
And consistently what we found through history was the people that grouped together, bound together in communities, the strong communities, they survived and in many instances thrived. Whereas the people that tried to be the lone wolf and stake it out on their own, they always never made it.
And this coming from a military man, you know, who has seen places in the world collapse under civil disorder and firsthand. And rather than looking at, what I love about Jeff is rather than looking at like, no, military force is the answer, he looks at it like coming together is the answer, community is the answer, that is the big survival.
Which is the big message of the show, right? That's why it's going to make us feel good inside. It's going to make us relate to it and like, oh my gosh, this really could happen. What am I doing to prepare? But then also realize like, it doesn't have to be those zombie movies that are just terrible and awful, right? But it's like we can join together, our faith can be built, our family can be brought closer. It's just very hope-filled, and I've loved it from the beginning when I first read the script.
And in a time when like so many people don't even know who their next door neighbor is, I mean, that's so key to everything. I mean, not just the heart, but the mind of everybody to survive. It's so incredibly important. You could be the toughest, strongest person on planet Earth. You can't do it alone. You have to have your community with you. And we've seen that just over and over again throughout history. And so,
yeah, you've seen it firsthand. All right, thank you, Jeff, for hanging out, man. It's so good to see you.
Thank you. Okay, you guys, stick around. We're gonna show you the trailer. Now, this isn't our final trailer, it's just a proof of concept, but I know that you're gonna love it. And then after the trailer, we're gonna have the star of our series, Neil McDonald, join us.
I was 9 years old when the collapse happened. Back then, we breathed safety like air. But not for long.
Oh, look what we have done.
In my town, there was a man they called the Modern Noah. We found out later that he was a long way from being a prophet. But he did build an ark, and I grew up on that ark. We were 200 souls doing everything we could to survive. So many perished. Many didn't survive a full week after the power went out. For a long time, we thought of it as hell. Adversaries circled our families like wolves. And God rode bareback in our midst, holding them just outside our ramparts. It wasn't until after we learned what a pampered nation we'd become. It wasn't until later we saw the hand of the Almighty revealed. Maybe that was what it took. Maybe it was worth it.
A nuclear bomb has been detonated off the coast of Los Angeles.
Los Angeles is on fire. New York City is on fire.
I can't stay here. It's not safe.
There is no rescue mission. There is just you and me in this place.
We've never seen something like this before.
He is with us. He will never leave.
The end of the world is only the beginning.
We are a family. We live as a family. We die as a family.
The thing about life is that it wants to keep living. And love wants to keep being found.
Wasn't that great? I know that you loved it. So, you might have noticed we're joined by Neil McDonald. He's the star of our series, and we have him joining us to answer a few questions. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome, Brittany.
So good to have you.
With creator Jayson Orvis. I mean, come on. This is a beautiful spot right here.
So, can we ask you a couple questions?
Of course.
So, tell me a little bit about your character, and then I also want to know how you got involved.
Ian Ross is, I kind of equate him to half John Dutton, half Richard Branson. Just this kind of all-American guy, but has a brain that just won't turn off and has to figure everything out. He's very analytical about things. And it's, especially set in this world, in this homesteading world that I've now kind of immersed myself in since I met Jayson months ago, that it's just so fascinating, this whole world and what we can do and how we can live off of it, and what we can do with our families and our children to live off of what God created and how we can take advantage of those things. So for me, being part of the show I love the Western style, I like the Western culture. And I produce a bunch of Westerns now, we're doing more in the future, but this is different. This has that Western backdrop for sure, but it's really about...
I'm going to go down and scope out this next location. We're going to shoot partially in a garage down there.
Going off of the Black Autumn books, I am blessed beyond belief to be part of this and to play Ian Ross in the show. So I know you're all going to love it. I know you're all going to enjoy it. But more importantly, you're all going to take things out of this that you really never thought of before. Instead of just going to your local convenience store or grocery store and thinking, well, I'm just going to buy this. Wait a minute. I could go to a co-op or I can go someplace and grow my own things and live off the land a little bit more healthy and also spend more time with my family doing so. So those are the tenets that I think people are going to really jump to in this show, and I couldn't be happier to be part of it. Thanks, Bob.
I think we're pretty lucky to have you, yeah. I was going to ask you why people should be interested in the show, but I think you answered that question perfectly too.
Yeah, good. Well, and it's not just that. It's not just, I think, like I said before, this has all of those amazing key ingredients, but also has a huge backdrop of action. What happens? How far will you go to protect your family? What will you do when you're really up against the odds and trying to keep your faith as a man? So those, again, are things that we all have to grapple with every day. And to watch guys like Ian Ross go through those situations and how they get through it that to me is what makes great television. So yeah, the homesteading is fantastic. The storyline's great. The action's great. Look where we are. I mean, shooting up here in Bountiful, Utah, at Jayson's home. Thank you. Can you say that?
Sure.
Oh, we just did. It's, there's eye candy everywhere in Homestead, and I get to be part of it, so this is great.
Can you describe the conflict between you and the other kind of type A male character, Jeff Erickson?
Right. So the conflict in this piece at the top of the food chain really is, this is my homestead, this is my land, this is what I'm trying to protect. So I hire Jeff Erickson to come in, ex-military guy who knows exactly how to protect land and do the right thing. So me being an analytical, really kind of paternal character to this family that I have, and not just my immediate family, but all those around me, and how I protect them. And going up against Jeff, how he wants to protect things in a completely different way, and how we really come to butting heads in the project and what happens because of that. That's what makes for great drama on television. So, I'm really looking forward to it. Bailey Chase has been one of my great pals for 20 years. To have Bailey here playing opposite him, and what we're going to do together, it's going to be pretty fantastic television. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, it's been great watching you guys, like that yin and yang.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Well, do you have a few minutes that we can ask you a couple of fan questions from Angel Studios?
Of course, yeah.
So a couple.
Angel Studios, love Angel Studios.
They
Go
asked
Chef.
a few people, and we're just going to ask their questions now. So the first is Jerry Q. He asked if the movies are going to follow the books closely, and I think this is actually a question for Jayson.
Okay, great. Yeah, Jeff Kirkham and I co-wrote the Black Autumn series. And the Black Autumn series is a military thriller series, which things have changed since we published it in 2018. We emerged into a world where homesteading is just so much more broadly accepted. We just hunger for the chance to be together with our families and friends in the wilderness, creating food, raising animals. So yes, we do follow the Black Autumn novel pretty dang closely, but we've also kind of shifted the focus over to family, and the conflict between Ian Ross and Jeff Erickson has everything to do with defending their families in two very different styles. So the answer is yes, the readers will be like, this is everything in the books and then some. So we wanted to add to what they'd experienced in the novel.
That's great.
I couldn't have said that. Very good. Very good. Sarah Hill just asked a question. Where are we filming? Well, we are blessed enough to be able to film in this incredible place, this massive home on this huge estate that happens to also be Jayson Orvis' home. So,
Quiet, please.
Jayson, thanks for bringing us up here. It's one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen in my life. I think the timing with the foliage changing in this type of season, everything that's here, you can just see homesteading. Everyone's going to want to start doing it as soon as they see this show, and how simple it really is to actually do it. Me being somewhat of a city boy trying to figure out these things, it's really simple.
Have you run across the free-range chicken?
Yeah, that's right, exactly. Well, we've had chicken. Reve and I had chickens. We've had rabbits, chickens, all kinds of stuff. But I had my own vegetable garden that Reve and I built when we lived in Canada. But to see what you've done here and how you've blown that all out and what you can do, and what we can all do to live off the land a little bit better, it's not that hard. We should all be doing it.
Yeah, it's so rewarding.
Yeah.
John Miller asked if all of the cast has been filled and who are the main leads. So we've obviously got Neil here. What about the other main leads?
The other main lead, well, we're all talking about who would be the best. Jeff Erickson, and we all came up with ideas, and there was a list early on, and my wife Reve and I were huge fans of this one guy who has been a buddy of mine for 20 years, and it's Bailey Chase, and he's just that perfect all-American guy, and in his real life he's a great man of faith in what he does and what he stands for about his family and what he did at Longmire, and we just thought that he was the perfect choice to play Jeff. So Bailey's our guy for that one. And then there's obviously many other roles that have been cast. I'm not sure everything has been completely cast yet, but we've done a pretty fantastic job of taking your notes, figuring out who the right people are in the right situations.
They move them.
I think the fans are going to love the fans of the Black Autumn books, and just the fans out there at Angel Studios, or all the Angel fans, the Angel family are going to okay, I really like this cast. I really like where we went. and I think the show is going to be a massive hit because of it.
So, we're in a different location and we lost Neil. Neil got called into a scene and we had a giant hailstorm.
Yes.
It's Utah in the fall, so we're improvising in one of your gorgeous greenhouses.
Yes.
So, thank you for submitting those questions, and big thanks to Neil, Jeff, and Sam for joining us as our special guests today. Jayson, is there anything else that we have? What's next?
Big time. Okay, so you don't have to wait until the show comes out next year to enjoy the show. We are filming a live unscripted show about everything we've done to learn to homestead, and for those of us who are already homesteaders, to teach the cast and crew homesteading. So we've already began filming. In fact, we began filming 3 months ago for the live unscripted. We're toying with Homestead in Real Life or Homestead Living, the show about the show, how we learn to do this stuff, because we're not pretending to be homesteaders. Both Brittany, myself,
I'm doing it too.
Many of the actors and actresses are homesteaders themselves. So we want to dig into that, learn together, and so we're shooting that as a live unscripted show. So there's lots to enjoy around the homestead experience.
So to follow all of that, you can follow us on our social media. We'll post everything there. You can also go to angel.com/homestead and click that subscribe to updates button so that you get up to date on everything. You don't miss out on any of the behind the scenes stuff or any of the film updates. We will be working hard this next month to get all of the filming done, and we will keep you updated so you don't miss anything. You can also see our torch video on angel.com/homestead.
Thank you all for your support, your prayers. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Thanks for joining.
I was 9 years old when the collapse happened. Back then, we breathed safety like air. But not for long. In my town, there was a man they called the Modern Noah. We found out later that he was a long way from being a prophet. But he did build an ark, and I grew up on that ark. We were 200 souls doing everything we could to survive. So many perished. Many didn't survive a full week after the power went out. For a long time, we thought of it as hell. Adversaries circled our families like wolves. And God rode bareback in our midst, holding them just outside our ramparts. It wasn't until after we learned what a pampered nation we'd become. It wasn't until later we saw the hand of the Almighty revealed. Maybe that was what it took. Maybe it was worth it.
A nuclear bomb has been detonated off the coast of Los Angeles.
Los Angeles is on fire. New York City is on fire.
I can't stay here. It's not safe.
There is no rescue mission. There is just you and me in this place.
We've never seen something like this before.
He is with us. He will never leave.
The end of the world is only the beginning.
We are a family. We live as a family. We die as a family.
The thing about life is that it wants to keep living. And love wants to keep being found.